Hello, everyone. It's Michele Maher here, and I'm joined with Alison Stuckey today. Thank you so much, Alison, for giving me your time to join me on Pivot with Positivity and talk about what we have been going through for the majority of 2020 and pivoting in your life and your business. So thank you, Alison. If you want to just give us a few
Mhm.
words about who you are and what you're all about.
Thank you, Michele, for having me. I am a wife and mom, and I have two businesses and currently focusing on one with my business partner. And I live in Toronto, and my business partner and I started our business. We actually just had our first year anniversary of joining as a partnership, and we had everything ready to go in March for corporate cultural strategy workshops in house and hard pivot once all this happened in March and April and May and June and July when we were supposed to have our first clients in corporate. And over the summer, we were really thrown off and decided we were going to accelerate our move into online courses, which was a huge shift for us because it wasn't what we were expecting at all. We were still going through all of the can we go here, can we go there, can we actually meet to do some online courses, which we ended up doing. So everything was just in a big kerfuffle. And once we started those courses in August, September, and through to now, it really has been an accelerated growth for us. We've learned a lot. And everything since we made that pivot and that shift has been amazing. And we're looking really forward to what's going to happen in 2021 as well.
All right. Yes.
Yeah.
So that I think that was case for quite a few people, all ready to go with something new just before March, and then of course this hit us, and
Mhm.
as much as we already saw that there was this coronavirus over in China and then into Europe, we still it still came and really knocked us flat because we didn't expect uh,
Mhm.
it to come over to the extent where we would all of a sudden everything would be shut down. And for me it was the announcing that sports were shut down that really threw me, because that's not
Exactly.
something that has ever, I don't think it's anything that was conceivable in my mind. I never would have imagined it. And then of course after that, Las Vegas being shut down and seeing deserted streets there, you know and as you know, there was a lot of fear at the beginning, and I don't think any of us thought we'd still be here this many months later.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And fear has driven this whole thing since the beginning, which there's two sides and they're so um extreme. You're either on the fear side if you watch a lot of CNN and everything else, negative, doomsday, everything, or you're on the love and joy side. And there really isn't sort of a middle ground. There's the people who just when you're walking by them, just extend themselves from you as far as they possibly can because you're the plague in their mind, and then there's the ones who are still normal and actually speak with you, which is odd when somebody does that now, which is so shocking to me.
Right. Yes. And I remember back at the beginning in March, when the first time that I went to the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a very, very draining experience. I felt I just felt so sad, I guess, when I came back to my car, and just drained, and there was so I could feel the energy from everybody, the fear that was out there. You could just feel it, and people were making sure not to look at you, and avoiding eye contact, and it was just so strange. It really was.
It's something we've never experienced before. Nobody knew how to react. Am I supposed to tell? I met a friend on, I live near Yonge Street, big, busy street in Toronto. And I was passing her, and it must have been beginning of April. So we were probably about a month, 3 weeks to a month into this. And we're passing each other on the street, and her first instinct was to give me a hug. I'm like, I don't, are we supposed to do? I don't know, because that's the thing we would normally do.
Yeah.
And even now, just meeting people, meeting very good friends of mine, we kind of do that air hug thing at 10 feet apart when we're on somebody's porch and somebody's off the porch. It's just so strange. And the energy with us processing that, and the fear and the uncertainty and the unknown and everything that just it triggers our fear response, which is fight or flight, and it's a survival instinct, and we can't help that. So as soon as we don't know what to do and the unexpected comes, we go into this weirdo mode, and I find myself even doing it, and I'm the person who talks to everybody. I talk to you in the grocery lineup. I talk to you in the car wash when we're waiting for our cars. I talk to you everywhere. And it's just almost this instinctive protection to hold back, because I don't know how people are going to respond. They think I have three heads. Do they think that I'm going to be doing whatever to them, or are they going to be receptive? So it's completely against human nature, and the community and the connection is fundamental in human existence, and we're missing it now.
Yes.
It's not
Yes.
there.
We
So
are.
it's a very strange and heavy energy that you have to protect yourself from.
Right. Yeah, totally. And I find that it's been a real roller coaster. A real roller coaster of emotion and energy, and just having, feeling so good one day, and the next day feeling so heavy, and like you've got the weight of the world on your shoulders.
Yep.
And well,
and
at
you're
the
not alone.
Yeah, everyone I've spoken to, same thing. It's and I've even seen it. I've even seen it online with some of the at the the very beginning. The fear was there, fear, and empty grocery store shelves, and that was again because we've never seen it before, and the uncertainty. Everybody was propelled into fear, because that's going back to caveman times or whatever.
Absolutely.
So everybody went into that fear and survival mode. And even for myself, I found that too, but I knew that I didn't want to stay there, because that's not, not going to do anybody any good. And that's why I'm, at the beginning, where I was watching news for updates and things like that, I stopped. I definitely stopped and just relied on getting whatever updates I could on my phone, and looking for whatever update I wanted, to make sure, because you do have to keep informed as to what you're responsible to do from a social point of view, but it just, that could consume you, and the fear could consume you, and it's and it's a spiral.
Yeah. And a lot of people are still there, unfortunately, in that fear-driven negative energy, and it's not doing anybody any good. It's not serving them, it's not serving the people around them, it's not serving the collective energy of everybody, because we're all interconnected, and just fueling that is going to keep this fear going, which is not going to help anybody in the end. So the more we can be positive and upbeat and find the joyful moments, whether it's walking by, right now it's Christmas, so walking by a beautiful display in a store that still has it, or seeing something funny on the street, or there was I don't know if you've seen it, the very funny video, I'm not sending you Christmas cards, I've made this recording on my flute of Ave Maria. If you haven't seen that, you have to look it up. My girlfriend and I were in stitches for 10 minutes listening to this.
Oh,
so
all right.
Little joyful things that make you laugh. Laughter is medicine. And things that bring joy and happiness. Joy is longer living than happiness. Happiness is in the moment, and joy is longer. So if you can bring joy and keep reflecting on it and continue to have that in your day, in your heart, in your life, then you're going to be better for it. Especially as we're going into 2021, which is going to be this whole shift mentally as well.
Yes, for
It's already
sure.
happening.
And right, because so many people are ready to put this year to bed and looking forward to 2021. The other aspect
Mm-hmm.
that has been very important, and from all my conversations over the past 10 months or 9 months, has been the practice of gratitude and being grateful for what we have. And so many people have found that has helped them dealing with
Yeah.
the what we've been going through, and looking at that side of things, because there's nothing we can do in terms of the virus and everything like that, but there's so much we can do, starting with
Mm-hmm.
ourselves, and being grateful for what we do have, and the fact that we have this technology, we're in our homes, we have food, we have families are together. Like, there's so much to be grateful for.
Absolutely. And gratitude is another of those high emotions, a good emotion, a positive emotion. It increases your energy. If you're in fear, you're going to be a little bit droopy. You're going to be just just lower. You're going to be sad. You're going to be not feeling yourself. You're just going to be off. But if you're in gratitude, joy, happiness, love, you're going to be more floaty. You're going to be floating. You're going to be just in this state of bliss, more so, which
Right.
is going to be so much better in the long run for everybody.
Right, exactly. And it's contagious, right? It
Mm-hmm.
spreads. um
Absolutely.
just think of when you've gone into a room and where there's been somebody full of energy, and
Absolutely.
you know it has an impact on you,
Yeah.
and you're all of a sudden lifted up as well. So
Yeah. We
that's
have to
it's
get really good at smiling with our eyes.
yes, we do. And the thing is that it's so true that you can tell when someone's smiling with their eyes.
Yeah.
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 So what so the other thing is, when we were really shut down, and then everybody came online,
Yeah.
I felt a bit overwhelmed at times, because I was signing up for everything, because there was so much I was interested in learning, and
Mm-hmm.
then I found that there was no way I could keep that up, because then all of a sudden I was going back to being as busy as I was before, and busy
Absolutely.
being just filling my time.
Yep.
So I think it was about April that I kind of felt like that, and had to kind of take a step back and think about the fact that we have the time to sit down and be present and decide what is important to ourselves, and what our values are,
Mm-hmm.
and just going inward. And I
Yep.
think that we've really had the chance to do something like that.
Absolutely. I know I spoke with a lot of friends who have corporate 9 to 5 jobs, and they were back to back to back to back to back Zoom calls because they could be. They
Yeah.
didn't have that transit of 45 minutes, an hour, hour and a half to work each way. So they were eating into that time that they normally had on their own with the Zoom. And then they
Yes.
were going back to back to back to back. And more than once I heard, I really have to schedule like a good 15, 20 minutes between meetings for my own sanity. Like, would you do that in your regular job? Would you go back to back without a break? Well, no, I wouldn't do that. I was talking to somebody and they were going in, they were at a high level, they were going into other meetings. It's like, would you do that at work? No, but I can on Zoom. So they were usurping the people who were below them just because they could. It's like, this isn't your meeting. You shouldn't be going in just because you can. And just the ease of this
Yes.
doesn't make it something that we should accelerate. And I have a really hard time on Zoom. because I'm not getting the full picture. I'm an empath, so I feel the energy, I take cues from the body language, and I work best face to face. So this is very distracting to me because I'm not seeing all of your physical cues. I'm not feeling the energy that you're giving out. To an extent I am, but I'm not feeling that as I normally would. So my brain is trying to fill in the blanks of the normal cues when we're face to face that we're not getting on Zoom. And that happens for a lot of people. That's why a
So
lot of people are over Zoomed.
is that why? Is that so?
Yeah.
That's the reason why it feels so much more draining, and yet you wouldn't expect it because it's it it shouldn't be because you're not physically moving and everything like that. But I find it it can be draining, and what happened for me as well is one of the conferences that I attended, they did back to back from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., no break for lunch, and speaker after speaker after speaker. And I was just absolutely so exhausted after that.
Because
So
you
that's
wouldn't do
why.
that at a normal conference.
No, you wouldn't. You'd get up, you'd go around,
you'd have a
you'd
snack
get the
break. You'd have a regular just do your business break. You'd have a lunch break. You would go out if you meet somebody and have a conversation. And it's all the little conversations at the sides at conferences that are so important to us. And when we're back to back to back, the speakers are amazing, but you're not getting that full experience. That human connection is there to an extent, but the actual face to face elicits so much information that we don't acknowledge that we're getting, but we're missing so much. Just the virtue of the fact that we're being here up. We're missing so many of the other. You can't see my hands right now. I talk with my hands. So you're not getting the full extent of how I communicate. So it's really been difficult for people. And I still hear, especially my friends in corporate, because they don't have that need to leave to be somewhere. One of my friends had to be home for her daughter. So she was leaving work at 5:00. Now her daughter's at home. Her daughter's older, but she's at home. And she said, 9 times out of 10, I'm going, oh crap, it's 6:30. I have to make dinner. She said, I would have been home like half an hour ago had I been normally at work.
Yeah. And
productivity is up because of that, but it's not necessarily a good thing.
No, and I think that's happening for a lot of people who work in corporate because, and also besides that, it's logging in on the weekends, doing work on the weekends, not having that physical separation of your workplace and your home, and the ease of Zoom. Yeah, I know that everybody's doing that, booking back to back.
Yes. Yeah.
Back to back meetings and starting earlier if you were, like you said, taking into account the whatever your hour commute or whatever it is, and just starting earlier or going later and no break, and you're missing all that. When you were normally get up and you'd go get your coffee, then you'd run into somebody and you'd start talking. Or depending where you were, if you're in one of the office towers downtown, you'd go downstairs to go to get coffee, and then, again, and you're not getting that break at all. So that's the other thing too. It's not good to be sitting in a chair without getting up for so many hours. You need to get out, and also it's so important to get outside. And I know back when we first were shut down and back in March, everybody was coming outside. Of course, in the summer, it was a beautiful summer, so people were outside. But now we're in December, and I don't know, are people going out for walks as much as they were before? But it's so important to get out in nature and get, rejuvenates you and just to connect with nature.
I think there's two sides of it. There's people who have really embraced, whether they work a 9 to 5 job or they're entrepreneurs or whatever, stay-at-home moms or whatever. There's the side that's really embraced the self-care, which is so vital for our mental health and our physical health and just our well-being. And then there's ones who haven't. They're working more, they're working longer. I had friends who are saying, yeah, I normally do 8, 9 hours. I'm working 10, 11 hours now. I can't keep up this pace. Like, this is the worst thing ever for corporate. And anybody, you have to have that self-care. You have to have that physical disconnection, that mental disconnection, that spiritual disconnection from your work, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're a entrepreneur. It's not as bad because we're used to working remotely. We're used to working on our own time. So we do work on weekends. We do work.
Yes.
I know I've had a lot of self-care days where I just shut down because I need the break. But it's so vital to everybody's existence. And if there's one lesson I think all of this is teaching us is going back into ourselves and really, not in a bad way, being number one in everything that we do.
Right. I think actually it's even more important, the self-care side of things now, because we need this disconnect from your work. And even as entrepreneurs, we had that before when we would go into our car and drive to a networking event, and then there'd be the little, social side of things, or just going out and meeting people, or going for a lunch meeting. We had that break, and now it's everything is online, and so you need that disconnect from everything. And again, getting out in nature is a great way, but and then of course same with yoga or anything, any exercise, all that, it's online too. So it does make it very very difficult, and more important though that we do set aside, but you have to schedule it, right? You have to put that in your calendar for self-care.
The one thing I've found that's old school. Think about that, old school. I love going out for a walk and just calling a friend. No video, just calling, because you get that connection and you're not distracted by the visual. So you're 100% in tune with the auditory. So I think in my experience, it's an even better connection because you're 100% connected to them. I've had some amazing talks just with my earphones in walking.
Right.
It's so much more, I don't want to say meaningful, it's different. Yeah. And I think in my experience, it's better. And being on the phone for an hour with somebody, you're really hearing everything that they're saying.
And you're outside getting your exercise too, which is yeah, that's why I think there's I went on one of those net walking events back I guess it was, I don't know how many months ago, I don't even know when it was, but basically that's it, exactly, getting to know somebody, whether you're calling a friend, but you can also apply it to business and do some networking. Absolutely. And get to learn about people and learn about their business and see how you can support one another. Again, it's like you say, you don't have the visual, so it's not as draining. And then again,
it's only one sense.
It's dual purpose because you're also getting your walk in.
Yeah. And even just calling somebody on the phone, I think it's a better connection than always being visual, auditory, and your mental is filling in all the extra here, as opposed to being on the phone, you're just auditory. So it's only one sense.
Yeah, and it's not as draining then. Okay. All right. That's a good, that's definitely a good point because, basically everybody, this is it, right? This is how everybody is doing business and networking, conferences, speaking, webinars, everything. It's the way it is. So
Yeah,
you can, like there's pros and cons, I guess, to it as
absolutely.
well. But
Absolutely.
looking at the opportunities, one
Mhm.
thing is we have had the what this has done for us is given us the opportunity to connect with people who are not in our, city
Mhm.
or in the GTA in our case. I've connected with a lot of people through the through Fem City in the US, right? So and I know speaking with a lot of people, people have clients all over the world now and things like that, where we had the opportunity to do this before because this technology already existed. It's just we weren't using it, and this was the trigger to push people into that and push some people to adopt a lot more technology on a faster basis than they ever would have wanted to, like
Mhm.
some of the grandparents that are on Zoom now.
Yep.
So from that perspective, there's been that opportunity to connect globally, which I think we're going to continue even when we do, when we can go back to live events and things like that. We're probably going to have both sides of the online piece where we can have, people joining from other countries into our conferences or vice versa,
Mhm. Yeah,
which I've done
definitely.
that for a few conferences that I've wanted to attend, which before I would have had to fly and have the accommodation and spend pay for all of that, and it's just been so much easier this way.
Yeah, it's definitely, this is here to stay. Um, I don't think we're going to be out of this till Q4 of 2021 at the earliest, unfortunately. But at the same time, we will crave, and we already are craving I had to pick up something at a friend's house. I've known her since I was 7 years old. And we normally go for a dinner. There's three of us who've known each other since we were little. And we normally go for a dinner every quarter. And I had to pick up something from her last week. And I said, we are so going for dinner as soon as we're clear. She goes, absolutely. And it's something, I've got this whole long laundry list of people that are craving that connection, and it is something that's fundamentally a human need. So we do that need that connection, but
Oh yes.
the fact that we can be global and be on technology and have all these experiences we wouldn't normally have is a wonderful thing. But
Mhm.
we can't get into the mode of just this. We have to have that human connection. And I think a lot of people are going to have a huge problem getting back into connecting with people. All those people who've been down in the towers working downtown, who've been home for months, just their immediate circle, having to go down, possibly on the subway, going up an elevator with thousands of people, working in a
Yeah.
workplace with hundreds, if not thousands, of people on their floor. That's going to be a huge, huge, huge shift. And it's going to cause a lot of issues for people because they'll be a year at least living in this whole different realm. It's going to be a massive culture shock for them, mentally, physically, everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. That is so true. And what are, maybe there's going to be, maybe it'll be gradual. Maybe corporate culture will change a bit. Maybe they'll embrace this work
That's
from
what we want to
home,
do.
you know, work from home one day a week, work from home 2 days a week, something like that, because gotten people will have gotten so used to it, but also the whole fear and feeling like, yeah, you're right, and when it's going to be because that's the whole thing. At the beginning of this, it was a lot of people, well, everybody was like, when we get back to normal, when we get back to normal. And of course, now we know that we're not, there's no back to normal, and nor is it really necessarily where we would want to go, because now we have the chance to create something new in so many areas, like I say, the corporate culture, education, long-term care homes for sure, and healthcare and everything like that. It's it's brought to light a lot of things. It's magnified a lot of things, and we have the chance to create something. And we need to come from a place of love, moving forward and creating things like this, because and having compassion for everybody, and empathy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be really difficult for people to step out of their new comfort zone of being safe at home, just in these small bubbles of communication and human interaction. Going out, yes, we've been going to the grocery store and whatnot, but going back into a situation that you've worked at for 20, 30, 40 years is going to totally throw people. It's not going to be easy.
No, it's definitely not going to be.
And the more people can come at it with love and empathy and honoring people who are not okay with going back to the norm or what was once the norm.
Right.
And there's going to be a huge shift, especially in corporate, to what the new norm is. I know my husband's company, they are up 50, 75% productivity with people working from home. The CEO said they're never coming back because they're so productive at home. And all of that workspace downtown, that if people aren't there, they can shrink their footprint. One of my friends, they have coffee service every day. They have lunch maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks for everybody in their 800 person office. They have like a breakfast thing every Friday. Those are all expenses that are going to be gone. Corporate doesn't need all those expenses with people working from home. So it's going to be a huge shift of what they can actually, they can be more productive at home and not have all of those massive corporate expenses in these huge towers downtown, especially.
Yeah, that is so true. And then what happens, what happens to those towers?
Yeah.
That's another well,
living space.
Yeah. But yeah. But on the flip side, you still need that, like going back to needing the human connection and everything like that. I think it would be I think what a lot of people might like is a balance there of, working from home and then also going into the office where they get that connection and back with people and everything like that, and just figuring out, I guess, what works for it's going to be different for all different types of businesses. But I think going back to what you were saying, it's productivity is up, I'm sure, at the majority of them.
And it might be a choice. Judy, who works in an office with all men and doesn't like that environment, loves her job, hates the environment, might choose another outlet for that human connection and choose to stay at home.
Yeah.
Work from home and make a personal choice as to who her connections are going to be with, that are going to be positive for her, and just have that technology distance from the people that she doesn't have to actually see. I think there's going to be a lot of choices that way, especially in corporate.
and you know, and that means that she's going to be happier, and then she's still productive, and the corporation is, you know, should be happy too, and it's
Yeah,
all, you know, it's all the better for everyone involved, and that's what it's all about. And that's going back to figuring out what's important to you and what your values are, and are you happy, or were you happy with whatever you were doing before. And there's, you know, because again, there's so much opportunity to go and create something new and something that is more meaningful for your life than what you might
absolutely.
have been doing before. You know, like,
Absolutely.
and that's where I guess we need the balance for the corporations, but that's the ideal way, you know, if it, there's choice involved.
Yeah. I think there's going to be a big shift. We've been in this for 10 months,
Yeah.
9, 10 months. I think there's going to be a big shift through 2021 where people are going to realize that their core values are not aligned with what they're doing. And they're going to realize after being in a situation, once they get out of that busyness we were talking about before,
Yeah.
people are going to reset and realize this isn't what I want to do for the rest of my life. And a lot of people are just working to work because there's this, that, the other thing, and they've been so busy. And really, people haven't been taking vacation as much as they normally do. They haven't had that escape overseas. They haven't had that escape down to the US, what they would normally do for vacation. They've still been here. And now this last 2 weeks of the year is when things slow down dramatically, and when people
Mhm.
traditionally aren't offices or half staff normally. And I think this is going to be a huge wake up call for a lot of people right now, because they are going to realize, whoa, wait a second, what just happened those last 10 months? Now they actually stop. It's going to be really interesting going into 2021.
No,
Yeah.
yeah,
The
I agree.
changes have
That's
not ended yet.
right. Yeah, no, and then we come around to March and it will be a whole year, and then you've been through every season and every holiday like this. So, yeah, and again with no vacations or little vacation,
Yeah.
but
A lot of
definitely no travel.
reassessment. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
I think this is a wake up call for everybody. Like, live in your heart, live in your purpose, live in your essence, and really do what you love, be who you are meant to be, and live your best life. And a lot of people are not living their best life, just going, all those people in the subway who aren't in the subway anymore with their blinders on every day,
Mm.
down and back, down and back. If you're on the subway, somebody like me, and start talking to somebody, they look at you like you have three heads.
Yeah.
Are people always like this? They're so, you look one way, they're all sad faces. You look the other way, they're all sad faces. Like, how do you do this every day? And they're going to
Yeah,
be
I
at the
you're right.
point of, wow, what has just happened in this last year? Once they get out of that rat race that they're still in, because they have to production, 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 production. But once they slow down and take a breath, it's going to be an awakening for them. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah,
I don't
for
think there's
sure.
anybody who can be unaffected by it.
No, no, definitely not. Maybe if it had been, you know, we'd gone through it and it was 2 months and then everybody went back to work or something, then fine. But now, and that's a good point. When we normally slow down at this time of year,
Mm-hmm.
and of course everything, you know, Christmas and everything looks so different this year for everybody. So yeah, yeah,
Yes.
it will give everybody the chance to really, if they haven't already done so, this is the time to figure out what's
Take it.
important to you. And yeah.
Go inside. Take a look. It
Yep,
will
yep,
serve everybody in the end. It'll serve everybody in the end. Yeah.
it will for sure. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much, Alison, for giving me your time to talk
Thank
about
you so much
everything.
for
And
having me.
Yeah, and I look forward to when we can see each other in person again.
Yes.
And in the meantime, stay
On my list,
safe.
Michele.
Yes.
You're on my list.
Oh, great. Yeah, it's well, stay safe in the meantime,
Thank
and
you.
have a wonderful holiday.
You as well.
And again, we look forward to 2021.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.